welcome back to Hanging Out with Heather. I'm your host, Heather Lehrman. I am here at the beautiful Glen Cove Mansion. They give me this gorgeous room to do the show from, and I always want to give them a big thank you. We have a great show tonight. Two gentlemen that have great careers. My next guest up is Don Sill, the host of Put Up, Stand Up, and Shut Up. Welcome, Don.
Hello, Heather. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show. This is crazy. We're here in a mansion.
I only get the best done.
Yes, this is awesome. We're in a beautiful room in here in the mansion of Glen Cove. And, it's just a beautiful place. You walk in and it's just,
Wait till you have to come back and see it when it has the flowers and it's gorgeous. There's a 5-mile hiking trail.
Wow, this is awesome. I'm definitely coming back.
And the rooms are very affordable.
Yeah.
And dog friendly.
Oh, really? Dog friendly too? That's good for us. We have two little dogs, two little rescue dogs that we have, and Buddy and Missy. And they've never been, to my knowledge, never been bullied by other dogs. But if they were, we would definitely show them your excellent book about dogs being bullied.
Thank you. We're going to get to your show in just a second. It just reminded me that, yes, the mansion it's a really beautiful place. But it's just a funny story that the family who owns this owns our house that we just bought a few years ago down the road. They're called the Pratt family, and their photos out there, black and white photo, and this was built in the early 1900s, and the father, Mr. Pratt, bought his 6 sons 6 summer homes in a row on my block.
Oh, wow.
And we're the first house, and they're all identical, and it was their son's summer home. So his photo's out there, and I stare at it every time I'm here. Because it's strange, but they owned all the mansions around here. There's a bunch of them.
I feel like the Pratt owner is still floating around, like he's haunting this place. Well, in a good way. I think he's like smiling, like right now.
You feel it? I can feel it.
I can feel it. I feel like
there is a lot of talk about haunting, like somebody walking around in this. I mean, this is their mansion.
Yeah,
this is turned into a hotel.
Yeah, this is crazy.
But nothing scary, just definitely sightings and.
Wow. Well, that's cool. The Pratt family. I'm going to have to do some research, Google those people. This is pretty interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you don't even know what you signed up for.
Yeah, I'm here. It's me, you, and the Pratt ghosts of staying, and we're all enjoying the Pratts. and
we're all having fun.
fun.
My house,
yeah.
When we bought it, I just said, all right, I don't have any bad feeling whatsoever. I know I would know.
Right, yeah. I mean, you would know by now. You've probably been there for a while.
We're there a few years, but I knew right away. I would know right away.
Right.
I felt very, very good vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an awesome part of Long Island, I gotta say.
The Gold Coast.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All right, so speaking of funny, let's get into your show.
It's Put Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up. It's on Saturdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. where we take 2 comedians, put them through a series of comedy competitions, and the winner then advances on to next rounds. The winner, and it's like almost it's tournament style, essentially, and then the winner gets a paid spot on the Governor's Comedy Club main stage. And you were one of our guests.
Yes,
You went through it. You went through the rounds. You know how it is. For people,
it's tough.
Yeah, for people that don't know, it starts off with a joke writing challenge. So we actually give the contestants homework, essentially. So about 24 hours prior, we give you the premise, the key words, and you have to write a joke. And then you come in, and that's round 1. And then we have premise pressure. Then we have the gagoots. So you went up against the gagoots, right?
Yes.
And
that's the hardest part, gagoots.
It's a roasting battle. So, Heather's a very nice woman. It's very hard for her to pull that out of herself and to roast. But you did a great job. You had some good ones.
I had to get the truth out there. I said, I see a lot of these on Google.
Yeah.
I got him good. He was like, oh no. Yeah. I'm like, mine are all original.
Yours are all original, and you could tell because they were specific
Very specific to the mustache.
Yeah. Where it is hard, I mean, for the gagoots, he has to roast every week.
Yeah.
So it does get hard for him. And plus, he's not always going for the jugular of the
Yeah.
contestants. He's kind of throwing like little, softball. You got a free bowl soup with that shirt. Do they sell women's clothes there? Those types of little burns, but nothing major. But I tell you, as the rounds advance and as more people watch the show, they're more prepared for him now, and they're going for him harder.
I know.
But
Because I watched, knowing I was going to be on, I watched the first 3 shows. I think I was number 4.
Right, yeah.
So I was coming prepared.
Yeah, you were definitely prepared, and you could see the evolution as more and more comedians are coming prepared. And that's what's great, because it also makes the Gagoots have to raise his game, who, a.k.a. is Benny Rizzuti, my good friend and partner in this. Benny, how are you, my friend?
Benny, do you remember hanging out with Heather? It all started at Madhouse TV, where we met.
Yes, Madhouse TV. I remember the Gagoot show was there.
Yep.
I think he had Benny TV there and a couple of other shows.
And this is how my show started.
Oh, that's how yours began?
Yeah.
Was that over
It was
there?
back then.
Wow, and that was in Deer Park, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So tell us, how did you come up with the show?
The idea for the show happened almost all at once. So I was living in Atlanta for a while, and I lived in North Carolina. I was away from New York for about 16 years. I just moved back and started touching base with a lot of my friends. So I started talking with Tony Walker, who runs Gov's Radio over there, and he told me about there's a potential spot open for a show if I wanted it. So I said, okay. So I started thinking, and I was like, I didn't want it to be another one of the same, because there's a lot of shows that are every comedian has a podcast, and I didn't want it to be another. And we're all kind of fishing in the same pond as far as guests go.
Right.
It's a lot of the same comedians from around the way, and that's great. They're great comedians and all that. But I wanted to do something different, have a different spin to stand out. So I thought of a game show format, but I also wanted to be a podcast because I like to interview and talk to people, and also give an opportunity for us to get to know the judges rather than them just being judges, and then also get to know the contestants on a little bit of a deeper level. So it's a podcast game show, and then I just came up with the rounds, and some of the rounds come from when I was in radio. I used to have a show years ago in Stony Brook, and we used to get comedians ready. It was our way of getting the comics ready to go on to like a comedy festival, and then we would have a heckler come in, which would be similar to the roast battle, and then see how the comedian handled that, and then we would do the joke challenge. But everything was there, but not as thought out as now. So we started coming up with all these rounds, and then I called Benny to see if he was interested in helping me out with the show. Me and Benny known each other for over 20 years. We're really have a good team chemistry, and complement each other. And Benny was all about it, wanted to do it. He started booking the guests because he's very much in tune.
And he knows everyone.
He knows everyone. He knows all the comedians. So having
and
Benny
Nancy.
and Nancy too, they were clutch. And then next thing I know, we're off and running between Tony Walker, Sally O'Neill, and Benny and Nancy Rizzuti. The team was all there, and then we were all set to go. And then everything just started happening and started catching fire a little bit.
So I was a contestant on the show, and I told Don, I love the premise of this show. It's not a typical podcast, and he does have expert comedians that come in and actually mentor you and give you great feedback, not critical. It's when I say it's tough because when you're a very beginner stand-up comedian, you're learning. And I think it was Tony who said it. He said, I consider anyone under 10 years a beginner.
Yeah.
So imagine people that are just like a year out of the classes.
Right.
It's very scary. But I love the premise of the show. I think it's a wonderful show for all comedians, which are the experts that judge you. Don's the nice guy that hosts the show that just, I told you, I wanted you on the show because I love that no matter what, you will laugh and make everyone feel comfortable.
Oh, thank
And
you.
no one feels like, oh, the judges don't like me, they didn't laugh, or they gave me a bad score. But you always have something positive to say, and that's what I'm all about, is being very positive and being kind to people. And as Don mentioned, I have a children's book, Bullied at the Dog Park, where I teach kids to be nice, that they have to just show simple kindness. And that's what I really, really loved about your show and you being the host.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to hear that, and I do really want the best for everyone that comes on the show. It's not the Gong Show. I don't want anybody to be embarrassed, the comedians, because a lot of these comics, some are newer than others, and there are different levels. Some comedians can be brand new and just get it and out running, but there are some that are learning and developing their craft, and then they get an opportunity to come on our show. And what is great, like you said too, is the judges. We've had some really good judges. I mean, we just had Joe Curry was just here. He's a veteran comic who's been in the game for like over 30 years or something like that, and a staple of the Long Island scene. We had Tony Landolfi, who's been here. Another one, we've Jackie the Joke Man's going to be from the Howard Stern show. He's going to be a judge on the finale of the season finale for the
When's the season finale?
On February 22nd.
Look at the camera and say
Yes, February 22nd. It all comes down to the two comedians. We don't know who those two are going to be yet, but it's whittling itself down as we speak. So every show we have up until then, leading up, is a tournament style, and then we'll finally are going to get to our champion, who Jackie the Joke Man will be one of our judges. The winner will receive a paid spot at the Governor's Comedy Club main stage. So it's a pretty big deal, especially like you said, a lot of these comedians.
I should have did better. If I knew, I would have done much better.
No, you did great. That's the thing. Sometimes it's out of our hands. The judges are doing their thing and they're scoring, based in the moment. So and you never know what the tally is going to be until the end.
Yeah.
And another thing we're doing different. I don't know if you've been keeping up, but another thing we've been doing different in the tournament is we now have the fan poll. So
no, you didn't have that with me.
Yeah, the fan poll is a new round just for this, where it really, what it does is it gives the contestants an opportunity to showcase their own, to rally their own fan base, to self-promote. And that's the whole thing, because every comedian needs to self-promote, because if you look at history since the internet, Dane Cook built his entire fan base early on in the internet with MySpace. He was the first one to ever reach 1 million MySpace followers. He built a core fan base that started selling out shows. And now, Anthony Rodia, our own guy here, great comedian, local guy. He's just sold out 3 shows at Governor's next week. And this guy also began his fan base through YouTube and through social media. So this challenge, this fan poll, is to rally the comedian to get his fan base, to vote for them. So the last show we had over 500 votes. So that was huge, and it ended up becoming a difference maker in the final score. So,
I did vote for Kristen. And,
oh yeah.
And
Kristen,
Mandy was a vote.
Yep.
So I did see that on Facebook and I voted.
Oh, nice. The next
one.
one.
I knew Kristen was a literal tiebreaker. I think
that was for the tiebreaker, and it was also kind of our test run of the fan poll. But so that was the tiebreaker. So they tied on their episode, and we had to come up with a way to have a tiebreaker in order to get the tournament equal. And so for that one, it was just a straight up popularity contest, kind of.
Yeah.
We did put in there 2 sets, the 3-minute sets at the end, so people can go to their links and watch their 3-minute sets, and it did get over 100 hits on those each. So.
And that's what gives them their fan base. And
right.
That's what's so wonderful. I mean, you're really just out there trying to help people.
Every round that we do is helping out the comic ultimately, because if you think about it, every single round benefits the art of comedy and being a comedian. So from rallying your fan base and building a fan base, and getting them to rally around you, to writing jokes, to being fast on your feet with these premises, to learning how to handle hecklers and battle that out, and then finally doing your set. And it's got to be a tight set. So if it's a 3 minutes, or now we've extended it because of the tournament to 5 minutes, it's got to be a tight 5 minutes. It should be your best stuff. 5 minutes could go very fast. It's relative. It's like, or it could be the longest 5 minutes of your life. So and that's really up to the comedian at that point. It's, you know what I mean. So it's not. But like you said, we try to keep it positive. The judges are always. They'll give an honest score, but they'll critique honestly, and I think if the comedian is listening, they can really learn a lot.
Yes, and not to take anything personally, because they really know what they're doing. They've been doing it a very long time, and I haven't seen every show, but the ones that I've seen, they never gave any critiquing, but not critical or mean or in any malicious way. Did they give feedback? It was to help them and say, what I really think is best for you is this route, or what your strong point is.
Exactly, and that's the whole point of the show, was for not elder comedians, but more seasoned comedians to advise the younger comedians. And sometimes these veteran comics would never be in a situation to have conversations like this with these guys.
Exactly.
So
back in the day, that would never happen.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, get out of my way, I'm going up on stage.
Right, exactly. So this gives them an opportunity to really face-to-face kind of get a critique on their stuff. It really is a good opportunity for the contestants.
Some of the contestants don't even realize how big the judge is.
Right.
The comedian judge.
Yeah. This Saturday we have Jeffrey Gugurian coming in. Jeff Gugurian is an author, and a joke writer and a comedian, and he's a legend in the game. He's one of those type of legends, industry legend, that not a lot of people know him by name. But he's literally written books on stand-up comedy and his time in stand-up. And he's written jokes for Bob Hope, Milton Berle, and he's worked his way up. He's still going at it. He's in his 70s, and he's still joke writing. He still has energy. So he'll be on the show this Saturday judging alongside Anthony Rodia. So we have two pretty heavy hitter judges for this round, which is Andrew Plajanos versus Dana McAllister. So Andrew Plajanos and Dana McAllister, great people, but they never would have had an opportunity to get a one-on-one FaceTime with either of these two without the show. So that's what this is doing. It's bridging those gaps, and it's helping out. It's
changing. You're changing a little bit of the world of comedy. You really are, because people are seeing the comedian in the room, and can I get a photo with you? This is amazing. Like you said, that would never have happened. So you're bridging great gaps.
Thank you.
And I want people to know more about you. So I asked you some questions, and tell us about your career. You were in a sports career for a long time.
Yeah, I was a video producer for sports, mainly the in-game show, we call it. And that's where the Jumbotron. So if you go to a hockey game or a football game or a basketball game, there's always the big Jumbotron. We call it a video board, but everyone knows it as a Jumbotron. But we call it an in-game show. And basically I produced video content and for all these shows, from the Carolina Hurricanes through the Atlanta Falcons, and now with the New York Rangers. So it's very fun job, and it's priceless, some of the things that I've gotten to experience through doing that. And
what is the best thing you experienced through that?
The best thing I ever experienced, because I also worked the Olympics, and I've worked all kinds of huge events, but I will say that one of the prime moments of my entire career was being there for this when the Carolina Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup in 05-06 season, and being around the team and having the team themselves pouring
what's actually in it?
What's in that van is they pour so much stuff in there. Like everyone just dumping champagne and beer. By the time it got to me, and Corey Stillman, one of the players on the team, poured it into my mouth, it was this warm, disgusting
I don't want to know what
mixture. I don't know what it was, but I was like, can I have some more? Can I have another sip of that? No, it was gross, but
it's like Fear Factor.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you're like, yeah, and then he pours it and you're like, oh, no. And you're like, yeah. Like,
You got to drink out of the Stanley Cup.
yes, with the players. And that was a crazy moment because, you know, not a lot of human beings get to drink out of the Stanley Cup. And certainly not a lot of human beings that aren't hockey players get to drink out. And then there's even hockey players that played their whole career that never drank out of the Stanley Cup. So
That's pretty amazing.
very fortunate that I was able to have that moment in my life, and then you know, I get to hoist over my head, and you know, we had that cup with us for a while because we had to go on a tour with it for all of our sponsors and take the cup to every place where they could stand next to it and take pictures. So we were there covering it, and I was with the cup every day for like a week.
Like, I'm not letting go.
Yeah. I held it on. We had to go to a rooftop where they wanted to take pictures for the newspaper, and I was the tallest one. I'm not that tall of a person, but I was the tallest one in that particular room. So we had to go on the rooftop, and I had to hold the cup over my head for like 20 minutes while they took pictures, not of me, but of the cup in the air. And my arms were like shaking.
It had to be very heavy, obviously.
It's 30-something pounds, I think but I knew I wasn't gonna. I knew the odds of me ever holding the cup again were slim in my lifetime. So I just held it up as long as I could. I was just like, I didn't want to let it go. I was just like, ugh.
And you had a bit of a film career.
Yeah,
in a movie with Tom Sizemore.
Yeah, I was in Remnants with Tom Sizemore. That movie was on Netflix for a while. Now I think it's still on Netflix, but only if you're old school and you order the DVDs.
Okay.
You can get it. But yeah, that was a fun experience. I'm on the movie poster, and that was just again one of those moments where you know, I was fortunate to get the part that I had, and the reason I got that role was as simple as the guy who was directing it liked me, and he liked my beard.
You never know.
Yeah, you never. And he said,
know.
"I love that beard. That's the character. That's Merle. That's the character I played, who was a recluse." So the movie, I'll just go real fast. The movie is about there's some kind of solar hit on the Earth that causes all electricity and everything to go away. So people basically revert back to the olden days in a sense.
Yeah.
So earlier in the movie, before the solar hit happens, my character is like this survivalist, kind of recluse, kind of outcast, and the weirdo in the neighborhood, and who has guns and he's storing food. But then when this apocalypse kind of happens, the roles reverse and everybody's looking to me, and they love my character, and then I kind of lead them.
What year did it come out?
I think it came out in 2013, 12,
Oh, okay.
13,
Not too old.
Not too long ago. Yeah, we shot it and everything in 2010 and 11, and we shot it all in North Carolina. Tom Sizemore plays a military guy who, on their side of it, were trying to make sure that the people weren't going too out of control over with this whole thing. It's a weird movie, but
who cares? You're in it. Who cares? You were in the movie.
Yeah.
It's always fun to do a movie. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, it's always fun, and that was
And I am an actor. If anyone wants to pick me up for a role.
There you go. Hey, who knows? We might start doing some more movies down the road. I have some things. I have some ideas. Now that I'm back in New York and around the talent pool of comedians and actors, I'm kind of starting to want to.
Production
Get
company. I
Yeah.
hear a ringing in my ear.
Yeah, there you go.
So after your season finale of the show, you're taking a hiatus. How long of a break?
I think I'm gonna take about 2 weeks.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, and then
Well, that's nothing.
because we're already got people because now it's become popular, so a lot of comedians want to get on the show, and judges too. So we're starting to already book into March.
You need a bigger room.
Yeah,
Bigger boat.
the room there is very small. Maybe we could bring him here to Glen Cove.
Oh, my beautiful Glen Cove mansion.
But yeah, the show's really doing well, and I'm really happy with it, and you know,
I'm
we'll see
really,
what
really
happens
happy
next.
for you. I love the show. Like I said, it's not just a typical show. Like, I don't want this show to be boring. That's why I like to just throw things in and joke around and,
Right,
you
right,
know, talk about fun things that people have done in their lives. Not so serious
right, yeah.
and not so, like you don't want it either, scripted. I was faulted on your show because I wrote out,
Oh,
you know, I'm very, very new at doing comedy. It's
right,
more of being, I like acting,
right, right.
and my honest reason of getting into it is because a casting director for major commercials, I asked him after a workshop, where do you find your act, how do we get in touch with you? It's like you said, these comedians get to meet their idols.
Right,
That would
right.
never happen. Just
Right,
like you
yeah.
can't email a casting director, you can't
Right.
call them, you can't do anything.
Exactly, yeah.
And he goes, you know where I find them, to be honest with you? Comedy clubs.
Wow, see?
And that's what made me take the classes at Governor's, because I grew up in Levittown and I remembered on the menu, Comedy College. And I was like, I wonder if they still have it. And sure enough, they did.
Yeah.
And I took the classes and I learned a lot, but it was really more about me opening up, being on stage. You know, writing to me is, I wrote a children's book.
Right, yeah.
I like writing, and
Yeah.
I'm more of a sarcastic, witty,
Right.
But-
I thought your set was great because you talked about Levittown.
yep,
You really broke it down, and it was very topical and very, deliberate in
Yeah.
everything you talked about. So,
and I learned as I went. It's all about learning as you go. Even if you take classes, you still have to. You don't. There's so much you need to learn when
right.
you get out of the class. I mean, you have to just do shows and figure things out. And I learned by watching other comedians, and
Yeah.
it's everyone always says, I can never do it. I mean, I don't know how you could even get up on stage, and that's the easy part for me.
Yeah. I think everyone should attempt to do stand-up at least once in their lives.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, just because just crafting a set in and of itself, just putting a set together, whether it's 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, and then being able to go up on stage in front of strangers and to deliver that set and see if you get laughs or not, and to know what it feels like, to know what killing on stage feels like,
Yeah,
and then also to know what it feels like to bomb. I think both of those feelings, and I've experienced both when I did stand-up, both of those feelings are exhilarating in its own way. One is exhilarating, like
yeah,
you feel like you're on top of the world and you want more of that. The other is exhilarating in another way where do you put
feel
up or
like
shut up at that point?
yeah.
Do
You feel like a
right,
total failure right then and there.
right. Do you crumble and let it defeat you? Or do you rise above and go, I'm going to go back on the stage again next week or tomorrow or whatever, and do it again? And because everything varies, it's the day of the week, it's the time of night, it's the weather outside, the crowd, how many people. There's so many factors that factor into to having the right mixture of everything, and everything's always different. So you can't possibly have the same set every night, right? Everything's different.
Right.
So that's the challenge of day to day.
The
You got to
environment.
you got to flow with it, take it day to day, and I think it makes us all stronger in a way too, and more resilient.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Yeah,
Now, because your show, I never had a heckler, but I haven't done that many shows, but I feel like people, I mean, I guess I say it, that I feel like people don't really do it anymore, but I'm not a mean big room. I've been doing
Right.
private rooms, so I can't say that, but I did have the experience of a bunch of guys saying things to me up on stage, which I was gonna say on your show. I didn't actually I wasn't heckled, I was actually hit on stage.
well, that's a form of heckling.
And it is, because I
Yeah.
was like, right away, that was my opening, because I got up there and they were doing the old-fashioned woo-woo whistle, like, come on, guys, it's 2020.
Right.
But I was like, simmer down, and that right away was my relief, like, okay, that was when,
Right.
almost like everyone says after your first laugh,
Right.
that adrenaline will stop, but I
Yeah.
got to do it right away by just shutting them down, like, hey, I'm married, shut up, simmer down there. And they were like, oh. But I tell everyone the same exact thing. try it, do it. Everyone should do it, because they ask me what it's like, and I say, it's like being a drug addict, I would assume. I'm not one, but it's it's searching for that same high you got the first time you got up there and you got your lap. That you get a high, you get a natural high. It's amazing.
You do. It's a great feeling, euphoric feeling. When you do good on stage, when you get those laughs, when you look out at the audience and you know that you're connected with them and that you're all in it together, experiencing this together, and they're waiting for you, what you're going to say next, is a great thing. And and that's why I'm always drawn to comedy. I love comedians. I love to hear what they're going to say and what they've come up with. Because the joke is always, you're leading them to one place, and then you turn the page and there's your punchline, right? So I just always love to see the creativity of how we're getting to the punchlines of all these jokes and premises and things. And that's always what I love most about it, is the art form of comedy, the breakdown of it.
Yeah.
Like guys like Jerry Seinfeld, who are like, or even George Carlin, who were true wordsmiths. If you break down their jokes, you could see sometimes that every word mattered in what they did. And then you have other comics who will tell you the joke 500 different ways, but always get to the punchline. So I just love it. There's no right way or wrong way to do it, as long as the end result is funny. And so that's what I love about it.
So you've done, it seems like every career you've done, you've loved it.
Yeah, I mean, in my life, I was able to do a lot of different careers. I had the sports career, which I'm still kind of doing now. I'm working with the New York Rangers on their marketing, and did the Stanley Cup, did Olympics. I did all of that. I was a writer in music for a long time. I wrote for Circus Magazine and Good Times Magazine, the local Good Times here, and for years, and got to really talk to like conversations with Ozzy Osbourne on this, things like that, which sometimes to me I'm like, wow, I feel like Forrest Gump, like some of the things I was able to do.
Yeah.
And then the acting and the film stuff, and then both in front and behind the camera. And now with this show on Gov's Radio, everything I've ever wanted to do, I've done it. But I just need to find a way how to make that money doing it. I need sponsors. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It will happen, because the show is really, it's obviously going to be a big hit, the show. And you know what? If it gets sponsors, maybe it'll be picked up as a series. That's even better.
That would be awesome. That's the goal, is for for someone. First of all, the main goal is for everyone to enjoy it and like it, and for it to do its job. But I would love to see it grow.
It could definitely be a series. That show, I could see it as a series.
Yeah.
Just like I could see my book into a cartoon series,
Right, yeah.
I see your show into a series.
I would love that. That's
You have enough comedy friends to get that word out there, the connections.
Yeah. That's what I want to do. That's my next phase. After we're done with this first season and I have a full season to kind of
I say pitch
showcase.
it.
Yeah.
Pitch it.
Okay, I will.
I'm pitching mine, and I
Yeah.
think you should pitch yours, because it could definitely be a show.
Yeah.
It can.
I appreciate that, Heather. That's huge.
Now, one thing left, because I did ask Don, what's something surprising that you've done, and it happens to have something to do with one of our own presidents of the United States.
Yes, I got to actually direct and tell a U.S. president what to do. It was awesome. It was Jimmy Carter. I got to direct Jimmy Carter. He did something for us with the Atlanta Falcons. He's from Atlanta. As we all know, he's a peanut farmer and all that. And so Jimmy Carter came down, and he's in his 90s. So I had to have cue cards for him and everything. And he was extremely nice, extremely humble. And I think when I met him, I think I did a couple of faux pas that I shouldn't have done. Like I grabbed him by his shoulders. I was like, hey! I held him by both of his shoulders, and that's about.
And they broke.
Well, they were about that wide apart, like very small, and they were very very fragile. And he's smiling at me, and then I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't be doing this. So then I was like, how are you, sir? And I shook his hand, and then, you know, directing him, and you know, he had to read the cue cards. We had to do like 2 takes. And with the Atlanta Falcons, they have their mantra, the slogan is "Rise Up." So I just had Jimmy Carter do something for the military. You know, I just want to say thank you to all of our military people and all that. And then we were done, and I could feel like the pressure, because we were right on the sidelines of the Atlanta Falcons in the Georgia Dome at the time. So I felt pressure that I got to speed this up and get done and let Mr. President go off to his suite. So then his handlers came to me and they were like, President Carter wants to say rise up. And I was like, what? She goes, he wants to rise up. Mr. Carter wants to rise up. So I was like, okay. So I changed the cue card. I had the rise up cue card. And then Jimmy Carter's like, rise up! And he became like just your typical old man. And he's just like, rise up, everybody! So, but it was awesome, and it was an awesome experience to actually meet a U.S. president. And Jimmy Carter for me was I was born, Nixon was still a president, but by the time I was old enough to understand what a president was, it was Jimmy Carter was in there. So like his picture was there when I was in kindergarten, his picture's on the wall. So he's the only president, the first president I knew.
Yeah.
So for that to be the president that I actually got to meet and talk to and direct him, it was such an honor, and such like it was one of those experiences where you're like, that really just happened? Did I just meet Jimmy Carter and hold him by his shoulders and and all this stuff? But yeah, it was it's been a crazy run. I've done like I said,
now you're thinking back, like, I have done some pretty spectacular things, haven't I?
I tell you, the sports runs, all of the things I've done have really been good to me. I always kind of take you know, full advantage of the situations that I'm in and try to excel in those. So whether I'm writing for music magazines or from, you know, doing the sports stuff or whatever, I always try to maximize those opportunities. And you know, things like that happen. You get to
That's why something like this show was a great idea. And,
Thank you.
And it got better every week.
Right.
And it's just getting to a point where it's just going to be packaged nicely into a nice pitch Bible and sent out, because it definitely should be a Netflix series.
Wow. Well, I'm loving what you're saying, Heather. Let's make it happen.
I mean, they did what was the stand-up comedian show?
Oh yeah, they had
The reality show.
right. Yeah, and I actually like that.
Yeah. And everyone loves a comedy show.
Yeah, everyone loves stand-up comedy, and you know, it's hard to separate yourself from the pack these days, because every comic has a podcast and all that. But I think, like I said,
you're separated from you are, because that's why I wanted to go on your show.
Right. Oh, good.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm not going to say anything else about being on shows. But when I watched it, I was like, I definitely have to do it.
Good. I'm glad you were on it. You definitely. It was awesome having you. Went up against Eli Velasquez, and he was like this military guy. So it was this contrast of 2 different types of walks of life, and I think that says a lot too.
Yeah.
Because comedy, and you know, every walk of life can represent themselves in a comedic way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the '80s boom with those comedians, you have like Roseanne Barr, who came out like the domestic house goddess or whatever she called herself, and then you have, you know, Dice Clay. So you have all these different contrasts of comedians, but at the end of the day, they all do the same thing. They make us laugh and enjoy our life, you know what I mean? And they just open up different.
There's just nothing better than laughing and enjoying life and having fun, and laughter is the best medicine. I know it's cliche, but it really is.
They say that for a reason.
And it's true, because I get the same high after a great laugh that I do after I get a laugh on stage.
Yeah.
Just from a regular conversation, just anywhere I go.
Yeah, it's awesome.
To have a good laugh with somebody, there's nothing like it.
No, I mean, when somebody really strikes that laughter and you're like, your stomach
the belly
hurts.
laugh.
Oh, that's the greatest
I
feeling.
can't, my stomach's hurting.
There's nothing quite like that.
So let's tell everyone once again, all about the show, when it's on, where to see episodes.
It's Put Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up on govsradio.com. You can also find us on Facebook Live. The show airs on Saturday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. You can also see us on YouTube if you go to our Put Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up YouTube page, and you can watch. I have a lot of the segments broke down, so you can watch them. And and if you just want to see Heather, you can go to Heather's like joke writing challenge or other stuff that Heather has done.
You have to watch me go after
the Gagoots.
The Gagoots, because I have a couple of jokes that I'm trademarking, making sure no one else uses them.
Yeah, so you go on YouTube and you see Heather Lerman versus the Gagoots. You can watch that. And so that's on YouTube, and then our Facebook page is Put Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up on Facebook. Give us all the likes and the follows. We're also on Instagram. We're trying to build up and and get as many people in our corner as possible. And like Heather said, hopefully we could
yes,
get
it's
the
a
show to the
series.
next level.
It's a series. I definitely believe in it, and I believe in when you're doing something for everybody else. You're helping everybody.
All right.
You're doing so many things people didn't even realize by doing this show.
Right. Yeah.
Which again, recapping, is bringing on beginners. They're getting their name out there. They're meeting legendary comics. They're getting their voice on YouTube. They're getting a following through you. So you're giving a lot out, and a lot will come back to you. I truly believe it.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate all those kind words you said, and you're right on. That's exactly kind of what I'm going for. And I do want the best for everybody. I want the best for the Long Island comedy scene. I want the best for the local comedians. And I think everything will come full circle.
It will.
And we could all feed off of each other, and just keep creating a whirlwind of success. So that's the goal.
So is there anything else you'd like to tell your fans?
No, just
now you guys know who Don really is. So.
If you want to follow me on Facebook at Don Sill, that's fine too, and I'm also on Instagram. But Put Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up. We need you. We need all the support we can. Make sure you watch us live on Facebook Live, and spread the word. The more the merrier.
And new comedians, reach out.
Yeah,
to be
comedians.
on the show.
If you do want to be on the show, you can email us at putupshutup@gmail.com, or you can just message me on any of those other platforms, whether it's on Facebook or what have you. But yeah, Put Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up @gmail. You can email me, and then we'll get you moving and see when we can get you in. But yeah, it's a fun show. It's a fun time. We welcome all levels of comedians to be contestants, and the judges are always going to be veterans in the game that could help you out in one facet or another. So.
Okay, there. So, this has been such a wonderful time with you. I'm so glad you were able to make it.
Yes.
Don had a little fender bender on the way here.
Yeah,
I was like, no.
Not fun, but yeah, we got here.
I'm glad you made it in one piece.
Thank you.
And I wish you the best success for this show. I feel great things happening for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And I'll be rooting for you and keeping an eye out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we'll be continuing to watch Hanging with Heather.
Hanging Out with Heather on my YouTube channel. Everyone subscribe.
Yes.
This is my very first launch show of 2020 because I was in hiatus for a few years because Madhouse unfortunately closed down.
Right.
So I am launching here at the beautiful Glen Cove Mansion. So you're on my launch show.
Wow, very cool. And this is great. This mansion is awesome. Everyone should come down to the
Glen Cove Mansion.
Yeah,
get a room.
Get a room here. Walk around. There's trails. There's all kinds. There's ghosts in here.
They're actually opening an awesome pub downstairs.
Oh, nice.
That will have a happy hour. It's like an old school. They're all beautiful woodwork.
Wow.
So that's opening very, very soon. And
Excellent.
they're going to have a pub-style grill, So they have everything. It's really nice. Look on the website, glencovemansion.com. And again, go on Hanging Out with Heather Facebook page, Hanging Out with Heather YouTube channel to see my live shows. And you could find me on Twitter or Instagram with just my name, Heather Lehrman, Lehrman. So
Excellent.
thanks again, Don
Thank
Sill,
you.
for being our guest.
Yes.
As always, the Glen Cove Mansion has their amazing events coming up in the new year. Princess Breakfast on Sunday, March 29th, a Snow Wonderland theme with the Snow Queen and the Ice Princess. A Valentine's Day dinner on Friday, February 14th at 7:30 p.m., including a romantic 4-course menu. Room packages are also available. Early bird pricing special, all-inclusive, available now through January 26th. St. Patrick's Day party at Pratt's on Tuesday, March 17th. And stay tuned for their newly renovated indoor pool and hot tub and spa opening soon. You can reserve your seats today for any of these events on their website, glencovemansion.com.